Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I want to thank all of our listeners from Latin America tweeting in. Also, of course, we talk about London and Berlin, Germany, and Canada. And Big C, we also have a big presence from Russia tuning in to us. But I told you, Charlton and Big C are going to come up with a theme song. I'm just going to play a little bit slightly here in the background, and people can let me know what they think of it about the next 10 seconds. You'll hear it, Big C.
Well, Charlton, it's always nice to have an intro that everybody knows tonight.
What up, Charlton? Big C.
I'm feeling that, Big C.
Okay.
Will that work for you good old boys down south?
Well, we got the young people listening to us. I'm impressed. I always thought it was people my age and stuff sitting back in the recliner.
So it's not just Hank Williams that you guys are feeling?
Well, hey, we get a little thump and a beat going with us.
Hey, well, that's coming from Cynthia Evans of CYNN Entertainment and her son. So they do a lot of jobs around Northern California playing music. So we'll be getting more into that, Big C, as we come up with our Charlton and Big C theme show. And for all of you around the world, we're actually going to put some music online, and you can buy Charlton and Big C albums, Big C, because everyone knows that you do your music online. It's just a matter of somebody picking it up. So not only does Charlton and Big C do sports, and we do entertainment, but Big C, I'm telling you, there's something about the music industry. I listened to one of Deion Sanders' songs, Big C, and Deion made millions. He couldn't really even sing, Big C, out of Florida State. So Charlton and Big C, you got the voice for it, Big C. What are your thoughts on the Charlton and Big C album, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'll break out the banjo and the washboard, and we can get a little scrubbing and kicking going on.
Yeah.
And get everybody on some cross-reference. You know, music is that unilateral thing just like sports.
Yeah.
It appeals to everybody, and you're always going to find the right genres when you have music.
Yeah.
You know, but the things that we're doing as far as sports, the entertainment world, music, socialism, Charlton, we are unique within ourselves.
Yeah.
But we deliver what the listening audience wants to hear. That is the key part of our success since we've started, Charlton, is that we're not cookie cutters. We don't have to look at the other person reading the teleprompter and things of that nature. We are giving people what actually has occurred or is occurring, Charlton.
Yeah, and I appreciate that very much, Big C. And I told you this is the $1 Million Show, and today is July the 7th, 2016. And I always want to just say this because I talk to so many people, and they're saying, who is the mystic? And I know I look out at our Twitter following, and we have a lot of followers on Twitter and people that listen out to us. Now, last week we had like 14,000 new listeners. So on a 5-day show, that's 30 minutes. That's not bad at all, Big C, especially where they're coming from.
That's picking them up and picking them down.
How long would it?
Highway Patrol would have a hard time catching up with that.
Well, how long would it take to hand out 14,000 business cards in a week, Big C? So I want to thank everyone for listening to what we're doing. And also, I want to thank iHeart Radio because they approved us to come onto iHeart Radio, which has over 250 million listeners nationwide, and that's about 2/3 of the United States population. So don't know right now what time slot we'll be in, but hopefully it's going to be about the same. But they offer that to us, Big C, and I want to say thank you very much because with your 40 years experience, you know, things happen. And there's something we talk about as everyone's talking about Durant's salary and how the weight is going over to the Chicago Bulls. And like Sam Jackson says, what's in your wallet? You know? So what's in your wallet? I want to pay this tribute to you, Big C, because I know you've done a lot of things over the years, but something that you're very, very good at is your knowledge. And I know there's so many athletes that we interact with, and we're doing golf tournaments coming up, but there's so many athletes that say, hey, I want to be on radio or TV. And then you put them in front of a mic and they say, what do you want me to say? Well, with you, Big C, it's not that way. I have a hard time keeping up with you, and that's even when you're full of moonshine. So the mystic, where do you get it from, Big C?
They also have medicinal juice, Charlton. You need to understand, when you get a little older, you're going to need something to get rid of your arthritis and aches also.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's cheaper than going to the doctor, and it's all natural. Come from the Mother Earth, Charlton.
Well, you know, it's funny because everybody talks about what they're going to do or what they would do if they had the chance. And you and I are just like that. I've been watching ESPN and some of their broadcasters over the years, Big C. And you know, there's nothing like the Monday morning quarterback because the Monday morning quarterbacks, they're all undefeated, Big C. They haven't lost a game. But I want to commend you on some things that you talked about that actually came to fruition. You actually predicted that Kevin Durant would not go back to Oklahoma City, and that was in the mid part of the season when a lot of people were saying they were going to stay, that he was going to stay. And I thought maybe he would leave to L.A. or New York. Never saw him going to Golden State. But you hit the nail on the head. You talked about that. You talked about Carson Wentz and Jeff Goff, the top 2 picks in the NFL draft, and how they were going to be, it's not a good decision for them to do that for the Eagles and the Rams. Now, right as we're getting ready to start the preseason for the NFL in the next 30 days, we're being told, well, these guys aren't ready. And I'm thinking, well, Big C was saying that when Mel Kiper was saying they can't miss. So whatever it is you get your knowledge from, I'm going to give credit to the moonshine, but I know you also read a lot, Big C. So just your thoughts on that, Mystic.
Well, Jonathan, I'll send you a couple of jars out there, a couple of those mason jars. Make sure they don't leak and get on your clothes because they may stain them.
Okay.
But when you sit back, Charlton, and do a true evaluation, now when you think about Mel Kiper and Todd McShay on the draft,
yeah,
they got the first 3 players right. Okay, that was it.
Yeah.
The rest of the first round, they were sitting there looking stupid because they were guessing like anybody else. But you have to be realistic to understand the needs of a team, not the prospects, what you project them at, and you've never put a jock strap on, Charlton. But when you're drafting a quarterback and he's only won 14 games in 3 years in college, and that's against kids.
Yeah.
Now he's got to go play against grown men.
Are you saying
that's a different story?
You saying it's different when you play against grown men at 14 and 26 at Cal? You have these NFL GMs and these owners and these coaches saying, go find me a guy that wins 14 games in 3 years, and that's the guy we want to make our pick. And I think you were on that. And sometimes I thought maybe you're being a bit critical, Big C, because the Pac-12 is good competition. But now you have these NFL coaches that are making millions of dollars, like Fisher saying the same thing that you were saying a couple of months ago. So I applaud you on that, Big C. And I also,
think about those 2 players.
Yeah.
What was the common denominator between them? They were both blonde hair, blue eyes, 6'4" and 6'6".
Yeah, the NFL standard. Yeah.
They had nothing that was tangible to show that they would be a success in the NBA, especially Carson Wentz. I'm looking at a guy playing Division III football.
Yeah.
Didn't play against one defensive back that was drafted by the NFL.
Yeah.
And the average defensive back that he played against ran a 4.3.
Yeah.
Now, a 4.5.
4.5, yeah.
That's a linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, when you sit out there on the corner and you're running 4.3 and he said, hey, my guy got some separation. Now, that cornerback is baiting him, saying, please throw the ball because that's 6 the other way.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that a lot with Wentz and Goff during the preseason.
Yeah.
They're going to say, well, they're struggling. Struggling? Why should you struggle if you're the number 1 or 2 draft pick in the NFL, making $22 and $23 million?
Yeah.
Why should you struggle? You're supposed to be ready.
Yeah.
There are quarterbacks in the NFL that start, Charlton, that don't make the money that these 2 yahoos make, but they don't get the credibility either.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but it's just part of business, and it makes me realize also that anyone can be a Monday morning quarterback, but the fact that you actually predicted this stuff several months ago, I want to give you knowledge and credit for that. And I want to also say that this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, the home of the all-new Escalade, the standard of the world. And you can only get it there brand new. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, another thing that we were talking about is how there's so much pushback on athletes that happen to be men of color for the most part when they decide they want to make their lives better. And they even get a pushback from the African-American broadcasters. For example, we have Charles Barkley, and maybe because he's a little bit bitter that he never won a championship, but here he is saying that Durant is just going after the championship when he's going to Golden State. He should have stayed at OKC.
Hold on a second.
I believe he left Philly for Phoenix, didn't he, Big C? He was traded, but he left
Philly to go to Phoenix, all right?
Yeah.
And after Houston won 2 championships, he left Phoenix to go to Houston.
Yeah.
Trying to get a championship, but he got there a day late.
Yeah.
So when you got players sitting there badgering other players for wanting what every professional athlete wants.
Yeah.
Is a championship ring. Charlton, period. That's the crescendo of your career.
Yeah.
As a player, I won basically every individual award that you can win throughout my career.
Yeah.
But the most prized possessions, Charlton, are those championship rings.
Yeah.
That's something that when you walk out in public, and it's not that they leave and go out in public anytime with frequency,
yeah,
but when they do to a special event, people know who I am.
Yeah.
They know that I was a championship athlete. It doesn't matter anything else. The only thing that they're attracted to is my right and left hand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like If I put a drink up, everybody's in my face.
Yeah,
wanting to talk.
If people don't realize how hard it is to hold a full glass of moonshine when you got rings on your fingers, Big C, so I've seen you do that too, Big C, and I'm very amazed by that as well, Big C. And something I want to bring up too, because Durant going over to Golden State, and they've let a couple of players go. They got rid of Festus Ezeli and Bogut, and they're going to have to make their choices. They let quite a few guys go. But just like Steve Kerr said today at the press conference, it's just part of basketball. Even he played with the great Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't finish his career as a Chicago Bull. When you talk about that, you look at guys like Magic Johnson.
Well, look at Steve Kerr as a coach.
Yeah.
He didn't finish his career in Chicago. He finished his career in San Antonio with the Spurs and won a couple of championships down there. So he understands that you have to have interchangeable parts. You got to bring players. Everybody is not going to be happy, but you go to the best situation you see to enhance the rest of your career.
Well,
that's what Durant and many other players have done. You look at Dwayne Wade, who just left Miami today for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
Everybody felt that Dwayne Wade would be a lifetime Heat. But, due to contractual situations, and they gave Whiteside all that money, about $92 million, it didn't leave enough cap space for Wade, so he goes to Chicago, takes the 47. Dwayne Wade has 3 championship rings.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the NBA Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right now, he's padding his bank account.
Well, and see, he's not a stupid person. He's not a sycophant to the league. These guys are about the business, and that's the great thing about anything that you do in life. It's a lot like what we're doing, Big C. Starting with Salem Media, even though you've been doing it 40 years prior to that, and me about 27 years prior to that. When things change, you can sit there and you can decide, well, what am I going to do now? Or go create your own thing. So I congratulate Kevin Durant, and I remember when he won the MVP, and I'm grateful for what my parents have done for me, but he said that his mom is the real MVP. So what's wrong with this man trying to better his life? And Charles Barkley, maybe he says a lot of things just because he wants to get noticed, Big C, and that's part of his job. However, if you're going to be honest, every young man, if you're intelligent, look out for your family. Look out for your bank account, because as soon as you get too old, these teams are going to cut you. They're going to let you go, and they're going to tell you, hey, it was great working with you, but right now you got to go. And so when the guys like Durant leaves, and Westbrook is probably going to leave too, but he had a 2-year contract. He can opt out after 1 year, Big C. The salary cap's increasing next year. But I want to say that all these young men, and you talk about it all the time, the guys in college, and they want to look like Calipari's kids, they go 1 year and done, and then they get into the NBA. They're all going to lose their jobs at some time. But what you said is what Durant did. You go where the opportunity is, and that's how Charlton and Big C Sports became Charlton and Big C Sports from Salem Media, because you go where the opportunity is. I applaud Durant on that, Big C. Is there any fallout that he should have or feel about leaving OKC and the fan base, Big C?
None whatsoever, Charlton. As you've spoken about in the past, the Seattle Seahawks left Seattle.
Yeah, the Seattle
went to Oklahoma, became Oklahoma City Thunder. They left an entire city.
Yeah.
They left an entire community without anything.
Yeah.
The team is still intact in Oklahoma City. It's just the one individual that is left. I mean, there's been players that have been cut, traded by Oklahoma City ever since they've been there.
Yeah.
So by Durant leaving, I mean, that's just one individual.
Yeah.
When you look at it, Charlton, there's 30 teams in the NBA, okay?
Yeah.
30 teams. There's only going to be one team crowned NBA champion next year.
Yeah.
There's going to be 29 teams frustrated.
Yeah.
28 of them are going to be sitting at home. One's going to be there courtside with their head hanging down.
Yeah.
Okay? So why not take the opportunity? And Kevin Durant's been to the championship one time. He's had that bitter taste in his mouth.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to feel it again. He wants to feel what it's like to sip the champagne.
Yeah.
As every player does. And so, as a fan, you have one city of fans around the league that's disgruntled.
Yeah.
But you have the league that's looking out with enthusiasm. They're trying to figure out how to beat Golden State now.
Yeah, well,
the rest of the league.
Well,
that's the challenge.
Yeah, you're right. And you think about it, too, with the Golden State Warriors, just like Steve Kerr said today during the press conference, he thanked the guys that helped create success, and then he wished them well. But it's part of the business. Well, he got his job because he replaced a coach that's now doing commentating, and Mark Jackson. Now, Mark Jackson, he recruited or actually helped draft those guys like Curry and Thompson, but he didn't get along with the ownership because he wanted to do things his way. The ownership had a disagreement. So they brought in Steve Kerr. So Steve Kerr inherited a great team. I mean, I could have coached the Golden State Warriors all you say is give the ball to Curry and Thompson and Iguodala and Barnes and Green.
Luke Walton just sat there on the bench and started the car. That's all he did. He turned the steering wheel. He started the car.
It got Super Luke Walton a job. We know his father was a great NBA, All-Pro Hall of Famer, but it got Luke Walton a job with the LA Lakers. Now, Mark Jackson helped build that team, and he's announcing for ABC. He's not being called the coach, and they won 50 wins for the first time. And I think in their history, when they had Mark Jackson, they still let him go.
Big C. They had 53 wins.
53 wins, yeah. And that wasn't enough to keep his job. Their team's keeping their coaches around that win 30 games, Big C. But he is African-American. I know a lot of people don't want to think about that aspect, but how do you coach a team to 50 wins and then they give you a pink slip, Big C? It just doesn't make any sense. And thinking of the pink slip, this section is sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. Go down and test drive the 1 Series all the way up to the super powerful 600 horsepower M7, also known as the 760 Li. When you're driving it, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. So Big C, again, when it comes to Durant, and I want to say this is important too, because you brought a lot of things to my mind, and down in the SEC, you see a lot of shenanigans that we don't see out here in the West Coast, Big C, like players that don't go to class. But I want to bring this up because when we look at the national championship, and we talked about it last year, and you look at teams in the hunt, when you think of national championship college teams, naturally you think of schools like UCLA, you think of schools like maybe North Carolina or Duke, and sometimes Villanova, but North Carolina's on probation. Now, I bring that up because of this. Over the years in college basketball, you had the great UNLV under Jerry Tarkanian. You had Michigan with the Fab Five, North Carolina, and Dean Smith, all of their success. And Coach Krzyzewski with Duke. You have Georgetown with Thompson and UCLA with the great Wooden, Indiana with Bob Knight. And we know Arkansas has some great teams on the Nolan Richardson. But the point is this. Those guys play for free. They're not making any money. But the universities make millions of dollars. And what you brought up that Jim Brown talked about, and people are complaining that Durant's making money, but this is so important. NBA 2K16, it features guys like Harden and Curry and a few other players on them, depending on which one you buy. Well, these guys not only get paid for their playing on the field, they get endorsements that makes them multi-millionaires, Big C. When a player comes out of college and you're used to playing for free, everybody's happy about it. I think Jay Billis is the only one outside of you that said it's an antitrust violation, and I agree with you as I look into that. So the irony is when a player gets a chance to make more money as a professional, he still comes under flack if he happens to be black. No one's saying that about the baseball players, and we have the All-Star game coming up, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, baseball free agency, was set up by a black player named Kurt Flood.
Yeah.
11-year All-Star with the St. Louis Cardinals, was banned from baseball after he helped baseball players create free agency. Never got a chance to play a game again. He was banned from the league. Nobody would sign him.
Wow.
But when you look at a player, Charlton, especially on the Major League Baseball level, and the money that has been going about. I remember years ago, the Oakland A's had a dynasty.
Yeah.
They won 3 World Series. But during that time, their great players left the program, and the first one was Jim Catfish Hunter, a dominant pitcher of the 70s.
With the mustache.
The New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Now, you leave a team after you've won a World Series and you go to another team that hasn't won in decades. But he went to the Yankees for money. And people were saying, wow, the money that he got, even his grandkids would be coming from it.
Yeah.
But no one cried because Jim Catfish Hunter was a good old boy from down south here.
Yeah.
With the handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
Then when Reggie Jackson left the A's and went to the Yankees, people were like, whoa. You giving Reggie Jackson more than you giving Catfish Hunter?
Yeah.
But Reggie was Mr. October, hitting home runs.
Yeah.
But as you looked over the years and these baseball players were getting these outlandish, unreal contracts, no one cried because Charlton, about 65-70% of those baseball players getting those huge contracts were white. No one said anything. They would give him a pitcher. Now, you think about it. A pitcher works 40 days out of the year if he's a starting pitcher, if he's lucky.
Yeah.
40 days. And, we talked about Strasburg's contract he got about a month ago,
$175 million. Yeah.
$175 million. And, we've talked about Baumgartner. We've talked about Kershaw. All these guys making $250,000.
Yeah.
And no one says anything about it. There's no basketball player who got a $250 million contract, Charlton, during this free agency run, okay?
Yeah.
and their productivity is every night. They got to go out and work 82 nights out of the year, not 40 nights out of the year, 82, Charlton. So when you look at what the productivity and what you get back on your investment from these basketball players versus the baseball players,
it's chop change.
These basketball arenas, on average, have as many people as one of these Major League Baseball stadiums during a game.
Yeah, that's very true, Big C. And one more thing, and we talk about this because, let's just be real, as African-American men, it's tough to get a job in network television and network radio. There's such a pushback. Now, they love you on the court when you got a uniform on and you're not competing for a position that they have, and there's a plethora of men who are qualified, that are well-spoken, that are knowledgeable, like Charlton and Big C Sports. But when you listen to the average sports program, and I challenge anyone throughout the world, when you turn on a sports station, most of them talk so slow, and they're telling you about the score, and they want to tell you that last night the Giants beat the Dodgers 6-5, and the Oakland A's, they beat the Yankees 4-3. And we'll come back with more after the break. And sometimes I feel like going to sleep, but I'm not knocking it because that's what mainstream has decided that's what they want to have. But I hear so many people copycatting what you do, Big C, and Charlton and Big C Sports. And I want to bring this up because this is what Jim Brown talked about when he said that young black players to give back to the inner city. And this is what Charles Barkley should listen to. There's always this crab in a bucket mentality where sometimes you see somebody doing better, and for some deep-seated subconscious reason, you want to tear them down. So when Barkley's made millions of dollars, wants to go talk to certain players about how to behave, here's a guy he has really no examples that are worthwhile setting. I love his mentality on the show. I love his humor. I love the way he commentates. But why would you go tear down another player who was an MVP player for using his intelligence and going out and getting the money the same way you tried to? I think that crab in a barrel bucket thing, whatever it's called, Big C, you good old boys call it down south, I don't think any one of us should criticize any young kid. Look at where Durant came from. A lot of these kids grew up in poor inner cities, and I'm challenging the NBA and other pro sports leagues the same way you put money into these young athletes. Put computers and help get math and science into the inner cities the same way. I think it was UPS, not UPS, but UPS, Brown. What can Brown do for you? They put $500 million into the Ollie Center. That's what I'd like to see Charles Barkley proposing. You've been proposing that, Big C, for the last 3 months. How come he can't do that, Big C?
Well, Charles Barkley has a great platform on TNT. And he's done a marvelous job of broadcasting over the years since his retirement.
Yeah.
And they've given him a tremendous opportunity to be an advocate for all inner city minority kids, even rural minority kids, Charlton, where he can talk about helping them instead of blasphemy on a player's contract and moving to another city. I mean, everybody has the opportunity to move, Charlton.
Yeah.
Whether you're a private citizen, whether you're a professional athlete, whether you're a CEO, you have that ability in America to move. We're not under slave law anymore where you can't go when you want to go.
Yeah.
The opportunity to make a huge living.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody speaking about somebody from American Airlines going over to Delta Airlines or Delta Airlines going over to Southwest Airlines because they get a better stock option as the CEO. That doesn't happen, Charlton.
Right.
When you look at the Fortune 500 companies in America, now these CEOs move back and forth, and they're making 20, 30, some of them $100 million
a year
in salary and stock options.
Yeah.
There's no backlash about that, and yet they have employees that don't make $20 an hour.
Right.
But no one's crying about that. No one's blasting this guy saying, well, the reason why he's making that kind of money is because of what he did with the company. Look at the CEO of Apple, Charlton, what he's making.
Yeah.
No one's saying, wow, he's being paid too much because Apple is the largest financially solvent company in the world.
Yeah.
What they have in revenue, $178 billion. So, no one's crying about that. But, here's a professional athlete who has a very short window in his career.
Yeah.
And he's making a copious amount of money over that time. And we're getting this backlash. And the most hated part about it, Charlton, is that you get it from former athletes.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I mean, everybody's jealous. I'm going to tell you, I'm jealous about the money these guys are making. I'm jealous about the money that football players make. I was born 30 years too early. Do I appreciate the career that I had, Charlton? I wouldn't give it back for anything.
Yeah.
Because I had a great time. Enjoyed every moment. Enjoyed my teammates. Enjoyed the practices. It's not hell. I didn't enjoy the practice.
Tell the truth.
All the games.
Practices.
I didn't have the coaches. But in the end, it was all worth you got. The little bit of money we made back in the 70s and 80s, it was all worth it, Charlton. Because everybody out there appreciated being out there.
Yeah.
Just like today, you can't tell me any professional athlete in any sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, tennis, whatever, golf, they all appreciate being out there. And you think about golf. There was an African-American that made more millionaires in golf than they ever had in their history over a decade.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods drove the money up so much in golf that no one cried because it was all the white guys making the money following Tiger.
Yeah.
Now just think about if you'd had 20 African Americans on the PGA Tour making that kind of money. Now you would have a backlash in society. All these black guys taking over the golf game.
Well, you know,
Tiger dominated and made so many white golfers rich. Everybody loved it.
Well, you know what's funny, Big C, and I would say it after this segment. This segment is sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. They build it for a tough. And when you go down to test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, BeneathHisWingsFoundation.org. Make a donation today. It's easy, it's fast, and secure. And when it comes to promotions, contact Cynthia Evans of CYNN Entertainment. And when it comes to promotions, she's the best. And Northern California also helping with the Charlton and Big C theme song, and really love the music that her son put together. And Big C, I want to bring this up because I think it's so powerful. You brought up this thing about Tiger Woods, and we just got rid of this O.J. Simpson, the American tragedy, or whatever it was. And Tiger Woods, to be honest, he's more talked about now that he's not in golf than many of the guys that are considered the leaders in golf right now, like Jordan Spieth and McIlroy and Day. They have not put together the kind of success he had. But when we talk about race and how it affects everything in society, and Tim Wise, a Jewish author, he wrote a book called White Skin Privilege. Now, why is that important? It's important because this sports world, especially basketball and football, is dominated by African Americans. But there's less leniency. Tiger Woods lost nearly $100 million in endorsements because his Caucasian wife broke out the window of his Cadillac Escalade, and he was accused of things that other guys have never done in the history of the world, right, Big C? But
nobody's ever had an affair. Nobody's had women texting him or calling him. You know, Wayne Boggs didn't carry his girlfriend around with the Boston Red Sox for over a decade. None of these things ever happened. You know, Steve Garvey didn't do it when he was with the Dodgers. So, you know, these things, you know, they were rumored, but only Tiger ever got it.
And the Kennedys never did anything with Marilyn Monroe. In fact, we're all here because of the Immaculate Conception. Now, adults do what they want to do, and in the real world, this is real talk. In the real world, people do what they want to do, men and women. Whether it's Madonna doing her thing, whether it's a Halle Berry or Cindy Crawford or anybody, Hulk Hogan getting $125 million for having an indiscretion with his best friend's wife. You know, people do what they want to do because that's the real world. But sometimes in America, so many people lie about what makes them really happy. And when you're rich, you have choices. That's why Hugh Hefner had the Playboy Mansion. It wasn't just men down there. And it wasn't just women; they were men and women, Big C. So when I
trying to say you have to sexy and gorgeous man.
Well, he never invited me, Big C. So I don't know. I heard that you know the location of that location. You and a lot of the entertainers out there, Big C.
If you ever go, you got to go out to the grotto where the pool is underground. You'll really enjoy it.
Okay, Big C. Well, I think sometimes staying out of those pools keep you a little bit safer, unless they decontaminate it with some moonshine, Big C. But I want to bring this up because in the final part of our program, again, I want to thank iHeart Radio for taking a listen to our program and welcoming us into their family. That's going to start here in July as we get things worked out with them. And I want to say that for all the people who want to do something, just go do it. We talked about Phil Knight and Nike, how they get these shoes that are built for like $1 an hour or $1.25 an hour. You can't get them for less than about $80, give or take. And then they get them as high as $500. And mostly they're pimping the inner city kids to go wear the new Nike or the new Jordan. I wish Jordan had a Muhammad Ali consciousness because he could have been like Ali and spoke out. Just donate computers to the inner cities. Teach kids to read and write. You know, UPS did it, $500 million to the Ali Center. What if every corporation would have given back to the inner city? We could have kids learning the stock market the same way they learned to play NBA 2016. And when you do it at the elementary level, I congratulate you again, Big C, because you're in the area where they had Jim Crow, and I know it's illegal now, but it's still in the hearts of some people, and you deal with it, Big C. But I'm so proud of what you bring to the table because not only are you intelligent, you're not afraid to speak your mind. And I've met men that were in your age group without being offensive, Big C, and they just don't want to say anything because they're afraid. Like, what are you afraid of? Why be afraid to help the next generation? Your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, people will sit back and say, well, I'm comfortable. Let them figure it out. That's what mentorship is, Charlton, to shorten the curve on people learning.
Yeah.
And so if you go out and you get involved with a mentor program, Charlton, and you mentor young men, you show them the right to passage through life, you can steer them away from a lot of problems that may exist out there and make their lives a little easier. And, you talk about this financial ends, Charlton. There's a program that everybody can download for free. It's called Ninja Trader, Charlton.
Yeah.
Ninja Trader.
Right.
Okay? You download this program, they'll give you almost $250,000 to trade. It's simulated money. But you learn how to become a financial entrepreneur, Charlton.
Yeah.
You learn for free. They give you free money to play with. Now, if you learn this business, it takes about a month and a half to 2 months to get it down to understand it truly. But that's summer for most kids when you think about being out of school. Instead of being out on a basketball court, sit in front of that computer for 2 hours and learn how to gain self-wealth, Charlton. That's what the inner city kid and even the rural kid can do, and even adults. It's available for everybody, Charlton.
And see, the great thing about stocks, Big C, in this final segment is sponsored by United Labor, $100,000 guaranteed life insurance, no medical questions asked. Also by Goosehead Property and Casualty. We beat about 98% of the people when it comes to a quote on your home or car. And also I'm a broker with One Life America, and we're the leaders when it comes to final expense. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and tweet out the Charlton and Big C Sports and let us know that you heard about it through that. But also, Big C, I just want to make this so apparently clear. As we talk about baseball and in basketball and football, we know the NFL is coming up. The CFL is already underway up in Canada. Baseball is coming to the All-Star break. And we have some phenomenal athletes that are going to be participating. And I challenge everyone to ask themselves this question. Will any of these baseball players, who are mostly Anglo, get criticized for their multiple million-dollar contracts? I don't think you're going to hear that at all, Big C. They're going to talk about how these guys bat between 250 and 300, and they're still getting $100 million contracts, Big C, like it's a handshake. So in the final segment, I want to bring this up. We talked about the UFC yesterday, the UFC 200. There's a doping allegation on one of the fighters, John Jones. We talked about him yesterday, and he's been, notified for potential doping violations, and that rules him out of the fight against Daniel Cormier coming up this weekend. Now, they did this right before the fight. They could have done this a long time ago, Big C. There's a lot of money that's gone into this boxing match or this fight coming up in the UFC. Why are they doing it right before, Big C? There's a lot of curiosity there that some people think this is staged because they're trying to make sure that Cormier wins again. Your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, they're talking a potential 2-year ban on Jones, Charlton, and Cormier, right before the fight. So, you either bring in a ringer, somebody who he's going to knock out right away, who's not prepared for this, Charlton.
Yeah.
But John Jones, was the most dominant fighter in the
UFC,
So, in the UFC. So when you think about that, it's ironic that, a couple days before the fight that this comes about. And you really don't hear this in professional sports right before an event.
Yeah.
That someone's testing positive. It's normally after the event when they test these players that it come up. But, as we talk about, this color game that gets played out there in the world of professional sports.
Yeah.
And you can't sit at home, Charlton, and think that this doesn't occur.
Yeah.
Even the most unintelligent fan out there has to recognize what occurs in the world of sports with the color bearing.
Yeah.
Whether it's a coach,
a player,
I was just going to say, broadcaster.
Now,
there is a color bearing out there that affects a lot of people.
Well, they're trying to get Diaz and Conor McGregor to fight again. One's Hispanic, one's Caucasian, and they're trying to make that the big fight. But Jones is considered the top pound-for-pound fighter in the MMA. But now they're saying this test was administered on June 16th. Big C, that's nearly a month ago. Why are they bringing it up right now? I think it's to prevent him from making the millions of dollars that he's going to make, because it happened in boxing. When black men dominate this sport too, they're going to have to find a way to put some shade on the top people. I'm not saying that to be cynical, but I would say this. If you tested all of these guys, I would say the majority of them would have something in their system. When I call MMA fights in Sacramento for the West Coast Championships, I did the play-by-play on that. I interviewed fighters before and after the fight. I'm telling you, there's something about the glaze in their eyes. Maybe they're sipping moonshine, but I'm telling you, it's like they were looking right through me, Big C. But this one African-American fighter, considered the best in the world, ironically, suspiciously, he's disqualified just a few days before the fight, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, he's the best fighter since Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva at one point was 47-0 until he broke his leg in consecutive fights. And now Jones, comes out being a dominant figure in this sport. And when you look at the fighting world, the MMA, the UFC,
yeah,
it's predominant white. It's about 75% white to 80% white fighters out there, Charlton.
yeah.
So when you have an African American on the crescendo, and people are like, wow, how can he dominate everybody
yeah.
so often? And I mean, you've seen these guys they brought out of wrestling and everything else, trying to make them these top fighters. I remember Brock Lesnar came out, a few years back and got destroyed.
Yeah.
Trying to be an MMA fighter. This was a huge hulking man.
Yeah.
But, we've seen this over the decades, Charlton, when African Americans start to dominate a sport, there's some social action that occurs
Yeah.
that starts preventing things from continuing.
Yeah, and see, Big C, I appreciate that very much. And I'm going to tell you, as we come to iHeart Radio, we're going to keep it real. We're not going to water down what we do. And we are going to do it every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to close out with this new rap that we're coming out with the Charlton and Big C Sports, brought to you by the real Annan, and he's Cynthia Evans' son. And he's putting together music, and he's really a talented guy. You can also reach out to Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment, and they do concerts and promotions all over Northern California at Big C. So as you get into the Charlton and Big C beat, Big C, we're going to put you on the bass because you got that deep voice. Not only can you play bass, you got that Barry White thing going on, Big C. So get your vocal cords tuned up. Don't drink too much moonshine because we're going to get you national, Big C. They're going to be buying Charlton and Big C rap songs, Big C. In the last 30 seconds of the program, Big C, I want you to close out what your thoughts are on the sports world coming up, Big C.
Well, Charlton, I'm always excited to be a part of the sports world. It is the greatest business to be in. When you think about it, this is what reality TV and reality radio is. Not just the scripted stuff that you see on television. This is real. This is what we're doing. And we're more real than anybody out there in the industry.
Yeah.
Because what we do is tell the truth. We're not having a producer in our ear saying, talk about this, talking about that. Let me throw it over to here so they can read their script, Charlton.
Yeah.
You and I banter back and forth. We cut each other off. But what we real, we have intensity. But we're real, and we want our listening audience to understand we appreciate them as much, if not more, than they appreciate us.
Yeah, that's very true, Big C. And I can always tell you guys, we thank you so much for what you've done for Charlton and Big C Sports. And thank you, iHeart Radio. You're nationwide. We appreciate it very much. All around the world, thank you for following Charlton and Big C on Twitter and Facebook. And again, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Charlton and Big C Sports. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.